Well, I remember that freshmen were eligible that year in a special ruling by the NCAA because of the Korean War. And an outstanding class came in behind our class. Jim Paxson, Ray Derringer were in our class, John Horan, Jack Slee, Chris Harris. And they all went ahead of me, and I had to play a second year, not on a freshman team, but on a junior varsity team. So I was parked there for most of the year, dressed out for the varsity games, and late in the year I did have an opportunity to play in some varsity games, and all my thrills I've had over the years playing on that grade 51-52 team, that's the highlight. We went down to Louisville. I was a sophomore, and because of a lot of fouls and everything, Coach put me in the game, and I went in shaking like a leaf. And this was a Dayton-Louisville game. This was big, and there was a press on, and I shook loose, and Junior Norris hit me with a long pass, and I took it to the bucket for a layup, which was it turned out to be a game winner because it went from 1-3, and they scored back, and I look back on that. That was a defining moment because I got a bus ride to Louisville instead of a bus ride back to Toledo. From day one, he'd tell us that was our objective, is to get to Madison Square Garden and play in the NIT. It's where all the glamour was, playing in the Garden. It was an unbelievable experience going over there. Here was the evening itinerary for a player in those days. Friday night, the night we landed, the Garden would have us over as guests for Friday night fights. Everybody then grew up listening on the radio to Friday night fights. No television in those days. Saturday night, you played in the Garden. Sunday, the guests to the Garden to watch the New York Rangers play. Monday, go over and watch the quarterfinals of the NIT. Tuesday, play in the quarterfinals. Wednesday, Coach Blackburn would get us tickets to a Broadway play. Thursday, semifinals. This is providing you went on, and his teams always went on. Friday night, back for more fights. Saturday, you play in a championship game and go home. I mean, it's like a vacation that someone planned their whole life for. Bill Shimolewski came in here from Detroit, became the center on a freshman team that might have been the best team to ever play basketball wearing the red and blue. Roger Brown was on that team as a forward, had Gordy Hatton in the backcourt, Jimmy Powers, Chuck Iser was a forward. They were not only played the preliminary schedule of varsity games, but they played over at the old Coliseum in a Sunday afternoon league, and they sellouts over there to watch this freshman team play. They advanced to a national AAU tournament, played some games over in the arena, or the old field house rather, sold those games out. Fans came to see the opening tap. That team was that strong. And Bill was the center of that ball club. And then the next year, Roger got involved in had a problem in New York City and lost his opportunity to play college basketball. Bill went in, fit into a team with Gary Rogenberg, the two Hattons, and Harold Shane, and won Tom his first NIT. There was a great relationship between Tom Blackburn and Henry Finkel. And Finkel started at St. Peter's, and his father passed away, and he pulled out of St. Peter's and then laid out a school year. He was just going nowhere. And a friend of Tom's bumped into him on a street corner. This is Henry's story. And he asked him if he was interested in going to school. And he said, yeah, I'd like to go again. He said he thought it was something local. This was over in New Jersey. He was from New Jersey, Union City. And this mutual friend of Blackburn's and Henry said, no, Dayton. And Dayton? They had just won the NIT over there. And he said, when do we go? So they came out, took a look at the school, and if I'm not mistaken, he just came right out and never went back home. This was just prior to the start of school. So he came here. Now the rule then was if your class graduated in 4 years, or your high school, if you were out of high school 4 years and your high school class had put in the 4 years in college, you were eligible for the draft. So he was out 2, sat out a year here, played his sophomore year, the year Tom passed away, he was eligible for the draft and was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. His mother, Victoria, wanted Henry to stay in school and get a degree. That meant the world to her. He responded to his mom. He had a love affair with Dayton, Ohio. I always sensed that he had a feeling that we were really in trouble, losing the legendary figure and Harry Bojan retiring as athletic director at the same time. He stays, and we have a real nice year. Next year, he's redrafted. His name goes back into the pool, and he was drafted, I believe, by the Philadelphia 76ers and offered some nice money, more than the first time. He turned it down again because of his deceased mom. She's deceased now. And came back, and you talk to Henry, he'll tell you, I'd do it all over again. He just loved his life at UD. And there were days some of the administrators would come in and say, well, you're going to have to take practice today. We could hardly get him home. He's not going to be here today for practice. We'd hear his feet shuffling around the door, and he'd come. He was so hard on himself while he was dying. And he fought this thing until he finally had to go into a hospital on a Saturday night. We had 3 games left. He went in on Saturday and he died the next Friday. When you talk about, dying with your boots on, that was Tom Blackburn. He wouldn't give in to it. No self-pity, nothing. Just tough guy. Good man. If it hadn't have been for Henry Finkel staying in school, that may have been a very, very brief tenure, like maybe 1 year or less, because we'd have been dead in the water without him, and he returned to school when he didn't have to. And that's why Henry Finkel is high, high, high on a pedestal in my life. He is so pivotal in the transition of the Blackburn era into a new era that there ought to be some kind of a statue over on campus of him. St. Henry. The university really gambled on giving someone in my circumstances a chance. I've often said that they couldn't have rejected me on my resume because I didn't have any. So all I had done is been an assistant coach in a high school with Tom Ferricks for a season and a half, and with Tom Blackburn for a year and a half, and coached the freshman team 1 year, and that was it. Finkel was back again. He was magnificent. Now this time he was enjoined by that great class of May, Hooper, Train, Waterman,